Let's talk. Let's talk. We got to have a sit down. We got to talk about something. Let's talk about veteran serving nonprofit organizations. How is that a controversial thing? How is that a debatable thing? How? More nonprofit organizations serving veterans means more veterans helped, right? The more the merrier, the more the better. It sounds good on paper. Veteran serving organizations. The more of these that we have, the better. Obviously, it's a no-brainer. Unfortunately, we got some problems in the industry, in the nonprofit industry overarchingly, but specifically when it comes to veteran serving nonprofit organizations, we got problems. We got problems. And either you're sitting over there on the other end going, "What? Huh?" And you need to get educated. It's time. We need to have a dialogue. Or you're sitting over there going, "Yep." You should stick around because we're going to talk about all the I got 5 big problems in the arena of both chartered and non-chartered self-proclaimed veteran serving organizations. 5 big problems. And I got some solutions at the end. There are so many non-targeted, bad, predatory, useless, frivolous veteran serving organizations that there are now nonprofits that exist to certify the nonprofits. This is a nonprofit which tells you which nonprofits are valuable and which ones are garbage. Pretty soon, we're going to have organizations that exist to sift through the organizations that are there to sift through and rate the organizations. Ugh. Talk about bloat. And all of those organizations have people on payroll and are taking donor dollars away from folks that are targeted. And Adam DeMarco pops in. 54,000 registered VSOs nationwide. I bet you it's closer to 50 now because I was looking this up. It's a 2015 study from GuideStar that says it's approximately 45,000. I bet you it's more now. But that was the last data that I saw as well. 45,000. I got a lot of data that I'm going to throw at you right at the beginning here. I'm pretty excited about this one. If you're ticked off, if I've already ticked you off, you need to stick around. If not, you should stick around anyways. Let's be pals. Look, the intentions are good, but this is mostly a broken system and a broken industry. Let's talk about veteran serving organizations. We're already getting comments coming in. I'm really excited about this one. I would love to see comments from all 4 places where I'm streaming. If you're on Facebook, say howdy. LinkedIn's already said hello. LinkedIn wins the first strike prize. If you're watching on YouTube, say howdy. Twitch, say howdy. I love people that are watching on Twitch. I love Twitch. Man, that's cool. We already got comments. Kelly comes in and says, it's unfortunate, but it's necessary because I know I'm a veteran and I donated to a cause that I thought helped us. And it really went to line the pockets of those who ran the nonprofit. Oh, you bet your bippy, Kelly. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. And Bill says VSOs can get very large tax breaks. Yeah, they can. You bet you can. Bill's throwing out the value already. Bill, I appreciate you watching, man. We got to catch up sometime soon. Eric's saying, what's up? Man, alive. I love the comments. All right. Let's dive in. Before we talk about veteran serving organizations, I want to talk about the thumbnail image that potentially sucked you into to watching this video. I love gaudy, grabby thumbnail images, and I really have outdone myself. It was like the shocking truth about veterans serving nonprofit organizations. And in the background, just like slightly faded, is the picture of a robber with bags of cash, and he's just got this creepy look at this guy. Oh man, if this guy right here sucked you into watching the video, welcome, the robber baron. He's so pleased. He's got bags of money that he's just taken from from your pockets that you wanted to have help veterans, and now look at him. Look at how pleased he is with himself. Goodness gracious. Oh my gosh. Okay, I gotta clarify one thing. I'm going to use the term VSO, which stands for Veteran Serving Organization, which I know stands for other things, but today it stands for Veteran Serving Organization, and I understand full well the difference between a chartered VSO and a non-chartered VSO. A chartered VSO has people that are registered certified service officers that can submit claims on a veteran's behalf. Examples of a chartered VSO: the VFW, Disabled American Veterans, American Legion, Paralyzed Veterans of America, etc., etc. Vietnam Veterans of America, I think they're called. There's only a small handful of those. So when I say VSOs, I'm talking about any nonprofit organization that is a self-proclaimed veteran serving organization. All right. So before anybody climbs down my throat and says, well, actually, all right, I get it. I get the difference. All right, I'm going to dig into these comments before I go to problem one. So true. If we stuck together, we'd accomplish much more. I've tried to reach it. Oh my gosh, Valerie, you nailed it. And one of the problems is cooperation amongst veterans and veteran serving organization executive directors and staff members. That's a problem. You hit the nail on the head. We're going to touch on that. Christopher says, do you reckon purely solution-focused outlooks help more than acknowledging problems? Oh man, Christopher, that's $1 million question. $1 million question. That's a really good question. I appreciate that we connected, buddy. You always bring the value with those insightful questions. We'll get to that too. All right, problem number one. Saturation. And we touched on this at the beginning of the show. You know, I didn't coordinate the blue backdrop with the blue banner, but that's actually kind of nice. I didn't even do that on purpose. It just kind of ended up like luckily turning out that way. So, all right, look, I'm going to estimate that there are around 50,000 veteran serving organizations registered with the IRS. GuideStar, if you've ever been to guidestar.org, it's the most comprehensive database that collects information about nonprofits. If I would ever apply for a nonprofit organization or wanted to learn more about a nonprofit organization, I would go to GuideStar. If I wanted to apply and see how strong it is, I could go into their financial records, which are public for nonprofits, and look into how they're spending their money and how much of the money they're getting from grant funding, how many they get for individuals, how much they're paying their executive director, all those things. Free membership to GuideStar. You can learn all those things about nonprofits. Always do it. All that stuff is public. So through a 2015 GuideStar study, they said about 45,000 veteran serving organizations registered with the IRS. I am unofficially and without any data to back it up predicting there's between 45 and 50,000 self-proclaimed veteran serving organizations registered with the IRS. Now, 65% of those are posts or charters that are subgroups of national legacy chartered VSOs, often chartered VSOs, not exclusively. But that would be a post of the VFW, post of the American Legion. 28% of those 45 to 50,000 get less than $50,000 in contributions annually. 40% of those get greater than $250,000 in contributions between individual contributions and grants annually. $250,000. 64% of those organizations, of those 45 to 50,000, do not make grants or payouts. So they are directly program offerings. Now, if you think about this, there are 19 million approximately. Jane came in. I said at the beginning, Jane said bill means veteran service organizations, not individual veteran service officers. Yes, there is a difference between veteran service officers, veteran service organizations. Veteran service officers work often for chartered veteran serving organizations, which includes VFW, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying when I say VSO today, I mean any self-proclaimed veteran serving organization. So I explained that at the beginning. Jane, you missed the beginning. You missed the beginning, Jane, where we were talking about all the important things to include this guy. The thief. You should just pop up randomly. I think you should just pop up randomly. Hey, it's me again. Hey, what's up? What's going on? Christina's got a good comment too. I'm going to get to that. I got distracted by the robber baron over there. All right. So there's 19 million veterans. and let's just say approximately 19 million veterans, 50,000 VSOs. You do some quick math on that. That's one VSO for every 380 vets. One VSO for every 380 vets. That all of a sudden makes it look pretty darn manageable, right? One VSO that gets funded, that gets contributions anywhere between 50 and a quarter million, often 40% of which greater than a quarter million annually. You think they'd be able to provide the support that's needed? Wrong. There's too many. There's too many of them, and there's too many of them that are not targeted. There's too many. It dilutes the impact when there's too many. They step on each other's toes. They muddy the waters. They create fog. And they're not targeted enough, which brings me to problem number 2, specialization. Nonprofits right now in the veteran arena are not targeted enough, largely. There's so many people that have good intentions that just want to help out without targeted goals in mind. And good intentions in the nonprofit world end up doing more harm than help. Let me give you an example. So a guy who is a non-veteran says, I want to help veterans. It's altruistic. It is with the best of intentions. I want to help veterans. I've had people come to me and say, I want to help veterans. I want to start a nonprofit. My first question is, okay, what do you want to help them with? And 9 times out of 10, it's just, well, I just want to help. And it comes from a very real, visceral place of concern and want to help and gratitude. And I think that's awesome. It really is great. But then people make uninformed decisions and they say, well, I don't know if I want to be statewide, regional, or national. Probably national. I can help more veterans, right? I don't know how I want to help. I just want to have come across problems and solve them. Okay, not targeted, blah, blah, blah. So they start fundraising. They get a good website together. They start marketing, and they get some first-time donors. These are people that get sucked in by the patriotic verbiage. They're first-time donors, and they're excited to provide support and to help. They want to help out. They see this thing that says, we're going to help veterans. All right. I donate $1,000 to this. Somebody donates $1,000, $10,000, $15,000. And that not targeted, not organized, not well-planned nonprofit organization ends up not making a targeted impact. More often than not, those donated dollars go into administrative fees, overhead, wasted spending, salaries. They get distributed elsewhere. There's so many nonprofit organizations out there, or people with grant funding or personal donations that want to help vets and they don't know how. They're just sitting on the money. Meanwhile, the first or second or even third time donor, whatever, or chronic donor, philanthropist, chronic donor, geez Louise. I'm going to petition to change the term philanthropist to chronic donor. There's the robber. That's going to get out of control. Oh, man. But let's say that first-time donor donates $1,000. They part with $1,000 of their hard-earned money because something compelled them to part with their money to make a positive impact. And then they see no ROI. They don't see any there's no stewardship. There's no cultivation. There is nothing that shows them that their dollars were used to make a difference, and they become disenfranchised. So not only does having more nonprofit organizations dilute the funding pool because there's only so much money and so many donors out there, but then it disenfranchises first-time donors because they say, why would I donate to a veteran serving organization? They don't do crap. And then it's twice as hard to get them to re-engage with a worthwhile veteran serving organization if they ever even do. Targeting and saturation are a huge problem. And a majority of these nonprofits that are not targeted, that are adding to the fog of saturation, they're mostly run by non-veterans that don't understand us, that don't understand what our needs are, that don't understand how to help us, or they think they know better than we do. Most of them fold, and most of them disenfranchise first-time donors. That is a huge, huge problem. It is a sad problem. causes a lot of issues. Now, before I move on to number 3, I'm going to field some comments and questions. Christina says, in my experience, I found that there's a lot of I want to do it my way attitudes that create more organizations and a lack of cooperation. Oh boy. Yeah, we're going to get into that cooperation in a bit. Whew. Valerie's comment hits home, says Wendy. I've seen this so much where organizations don't want to work with others. Yep. We're the ones that can do it the best. We want all the credit. Yep. Instead of working together to achieve more and serve those that they started the organization for. Absolutely, Wendy. You nailed it. And one of the problems is, I mentioned earlier that there's the second tier organizations, the organizations that are the quality control for the actual nonprofit organizations. A lot of those are pay to play. And then we end up having these nonprofits fight it out to prove who's actually more valuable. And to get on that role of like, this is a worthwhile organization. And a lot of them have to pay to be listed. So it ends up not being quality control. It just ends up, bloat, nonprofit bloat. The creep of VSO versus VSO is a perfect example of a major issue. No collaboration, no tangible benefit to the veteran, and all good intentions, no execution. Absolutely, Eric. You nailed it, man. Your beard is looking spectacular, by the way. Is that a recent photo? Look at that thing. I tried to grow a beard over COVID. I did. And then I got frustrated by it, and I ended up shaving it off into like a rally handlebar mustache, or like a horseshoe mustache. My family hated that thing. I thought it was cool. Chronic donor. I love it, says Christina. You betcha. Trademark pending. Christopher says this resonates. Might be the same might be true with mental health charities in the UK from what I've observed. Yeah, it's a huge problem in the nonprofit industry overall. And the unfortunate thing is, as altruistic as people are, there is money to be made in the nonprofit industry right now. Big time. I mean, Eric says it's out of control. It is out of control. Oh, wait. Oh, you mean your beard? Your beard's not out of control. Keep it going, baby. Just, it shows you have dedication and vigilance. I love it. It's good stuff. I think I should get on to problem number 3, friends. Predatory organizations exist. That's a huge problem. And what I'm going to do to explain this is the best thing that I found is an article from ARP of all places called Veterans Charity Scam. I'm just going to read a highlight from this for you to just put this in perspective, because they put it better than I ever can. American Disabled Veterans Foundation, Healing Heroes Network, Veterans Fighting Breast Cancer, Military Families of America. They sound like just the sort of organizations that generous Americans would rush to support to repay those who have served the country and now need our help. Sounds like is the operative phrase here. These are all sham charities that federal and state watchdogs have sued in recent years for misleading donors, according to the Federal Trade Commission, or FTC. I'll skip ahead in the article. Basically, what these are scams used to exploit Americans' gratitude for military members' service and sacrifice. It's offensive. Of course. I mean, it is just the most dishonorable of the dishonorable. So check this out. This is from the American Veterans Foundation. Their appeal was, statistics tell us that as many as 1/3 of all homeless people in the U.S. are American veterans who serve their country faithfully. With your assistance, we offer these American veterans the assistance they so desperately need. It's American Veterans Foundation. They raised nearly $6.5 million with an M. $6.5 million from donors who were told their contributions provided care packages and other aid for deployed troops and homeless veterans. Instead, the organization shoveled 92% of its money that it raised into telemarketing and administrative costs before the FTC shut it down in 2019. And guess what those other administrative costs were? Salaries. You think people in nonprofits don't make money? You're wrong. People in nonprofits make money. There's so much money to be made in the nonprofit industry. A good, long-standing nonprofit organization, heck, even a charter of a good, long-standing nonprofit organization. Those executive directors of those, and deservedly so, for those big organizations, because they do a lot, and they do a lot of good in a lot of cases. They make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year. It depends on the annual revenue of the organization and the number of employees they have. But a typical medium-size nonprofit organization that's been around for 20 or more years, depending on how many people they impact in their revenue, their executive director is going to be at about 150K. The only thing that makes it a nonprofit situation is that at the end of the year, they don't have overhead. They don't have excess revenue that gets paid out to shareholders or gets paid out to a certain business owner. That's the only thing. They have to be like zero grade margin, like tax-free, $0 at the end of the day. Everything has to be spoken for. That's the only thing that makes it a nonprofit organization. So this sucks, but it exists. Not only the fact that they are nonprofit organizations are a misnomer, because a lot of people think that that means no profit. It's all altruism, which is baloney. If you work for a nonprofit organization, you know that in that industry, there's money to be made. And no matter where you work, a certain percentage out of necessity goes towards administrative fees, goes towards marketing, goes towards staff salaries, goes towards print materials, and does not end up being used to directly impact, maybe indirectly impact, but a certain percentage is not going to go for direct impact. That's important stuff to research before you get into this. Let me field a couple questions here before I go to number 4. Olivia loves the beard too, Eric. Keep it. Adam, great topic. Love what you're talking about. Thank you so much. I was afraid that I'd tick some people off, but I have yet to have somebody come in and be like, you son of a biscuit eater. How dare you? Christine says, as a government employee, I found that I can make $8,000 to $15,000 more a year if I went to a nonprofit doing exactly what I'm doing now in a government position. In a lot of cases, yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The biggest scams are in nonprofit development, especially major gifts fundraisers. You can just hop from job to job and get paid 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, 110, 120,000 a year, have medium success, and then just go to another organization. They just hop around. It's a scam a lot of times. This industry's broken, and it's the brokest. It's the brokenest. It's the most brokenesting in the veteran world, I believe. Christopher adds, yes, I encountered this already on my network. Mental health companies with the same structure as multi-level marketing. Yeah, it's essentially multi-level marketing. Yeah, Bill says big money tax-free. And it's important for me to add, Bill says this, I don't think we should get rid of nonprofits. I don't think nonprofits are inherently or overarchingly bad. We need nonprofits, and there are a lot of nonprofits that do a lot of good. I've worked in the nonprofit industry almost exclusively since having gotten out of the military. And I don't see that changing ever anytime soon. I spent 1 year with a for-profit industry, with a for-profit gig, and went back to the nonprofit world. It is broken. It is confusing. It is weird. It is such a pain. But I love it because you do a lot of good. You do a lot of good. It's tax-free. There's big money there, but there's a lot of good to be done and a lot of benefit there. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm just saying like nonprofits are a waste. Eric says, thanks as always for actively researching your topic, making it relatable and empowering. Love the work. Oh, you're so kind. Thank you so much. And Olivia says, thanks for tackling the talk. Oh, you just pre-ordered my book. Woo! Thank you. That's a good time for a plug. Checks in the mail. Olivia, you're the best. Thank you, friends. I'm right. Okay, so a little aside before problem 4. I'm writing a book right now. In the process, it's called LinkedIn Mastery for Veterans and Transitioning Service Members. It has the best information, no joke, hands-on first-person information on how folks can leverage LinkedIn to get the most out of their career and their brand and their business after service. Okay, it's a super important book. I think there's a need out there for it. Right now, there's a pre-order campaign. It's actually in a competition. So if I hit my goal, the more pre-orders go through, the more my book gets pitched to real deal publishers. My goal isn't to make money off this. I don't want to make money. I want to get this into as many hands as possible. So I want to get this into the hands of a traditional publisher that can distribute it and get it everywhere to help more people. That's what I want. So I'm going to put this link in the comments right now. I got to put it in 2 different places. I just put it in Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And now I just threw it in LinkedIn. I would be honored to have your support with this, to pick up a pre-order. And if you don't personally need it, pick it up. And afterwards, there's you can write a comment afterwards that says, you can just write donate. I will personally send it to a veteran or service member in need with your compliments. right? So if you understand the immense value of LinkedIn, it's insanely valuable, especially for career transitioners. If you understand that value, and maybe you're not a veteran or you don't personally need help with LinkedIn, but you understand the value, pick up one of these books or a bundle of books. You can order up to 100, and there are different perks with each of the different bundles. Yeah, I think there's 4 or 10 or 20 or 50 or 100. Get 100. You change the world with that. Change the world. Okay, I'm done with the plug. Thank you, Olivia, for giving me an opportunity. Eric says 120. Did I just pass 120 mark of pre-orders? I did. Woohoo! Thank you very much. That's outstanding. I appreciate all of your support, everybody. Michael asks, Adam, what got you into the nonprofit world? Let me tell you what got me into the nonprofit world. I'll tell you. So when I was in the nonprofit world, and it's important for me to talk about before I get to number 4. And number 4 is super important because everybody's been asking about it. It's the cooperation part. When I was in the military, I had this heightened sense of service and altruism, and I wanted to ensure that I did something that helped me sleep well at night as a career. I wanted to do nonprofit work. And in particular, I felt at the time like I wanted to do arts nonprofit work. My undergrad education was actually in music. So what I wanted to do was be a facilitator. I wanted to help arts nonprofits educate in the arts, and support the arts and give funding to arts programs in schools and outside of schools and whatnot, and bring it to more urban settings, and just use music and the arts. You know, there's a healing power behind that. There's an educational element. That's what I wanted to do. So while I was still in the military, I used my GI Bill, which you can do while you're post 9/11 GI Bill while you're still in the military. You can use it. They don't give you the BAH because they're paying you BAH, right? As a service member, but I used that to pay for, I got a master's in arts nonprofit development and program management. So I pretty much pigeonholed myself to nonprofit work. If I could go back and do it again, I would have gotten an MBA because there were a lot of gaps in my knowledge and understanding. Having not gone that route, I wish I would have gotten my MBA first and then targeted down more, especially after I got to know more about the nonprofit world. I'm working on my MBA now. You know, doing it again. Thank you, post 9/11 GI Bill. But I do have a degree in arts, nonprofit development, and program management, which is pretty. it's a mouthful, and it's very targeted. I don't know why anyone would get such a targeted master's degree, not having worked in an industry. So, I mean, and Mike says, love this. So, in other words, you wanted to continue to give back. I did. I wanted to continue to give back, and I learned a lot about the nonprofit industry. I started working for the Boy Scouts of America. Down in the St. Louis area. That's where I started. And I spent time with different councils in different areas for the next couple of years before I started moving around to some other places. But that was a great organization to start with. And I thought that there was a lot of alignment there because I was coming out of education and training command, where training the next generation was something that was of value to me. And seeing the Boy Scouts opportunity, I was in a position where I could facilitate the education of kids in a manner that I believed kids weren't being educated in anymore. Important stuff. How to start a fire, how to pitch a tent. But beyond that, they teach about civics, and they teach you, it's not just knot tying and hatchet wielding. You know, they teach about a wide range of things to create well-rounded citizens, which I think is important. So I digress, but that's why I got into the nonprofit industry. And I've worked in different gigs in the nonprofit world, good and bad, ever since. So that's where my opinion's coming from, is from a basis of experience. There's 2 things that I know. It's the veteran world and the nonprofit world. I mean, heck, after my, LinkedIn Mastery for Veterans and Transitioning Service Members book is released and comes out, maybe I'll work on LinkedIn Mastery for nonprofit executives and fundraising professionals. Slight different approach, but those are the 2 things that I know. So let me get right. I appreciate the questions, Mike, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit about myself. Problem number 4, competition. Veteran organizations don't play nice with one another. And this is something that I've said, and veteran professionals, and especially veteran business owners, especially at the local level, do not play nice with one another. And this is something that I've said that has ticked people off. I've gotten hate mail over this. How dare you disparage the veteran community? That's not what I'm saying. Oh, man, I got lengthy hate mail from one dude from a post I made about this. Oh, my goodness. He thought I was ragging on veterans. I'm working on the cooperation thing in Wisconsin. It's a slow process because I have witnessed these organizations, as mentioned earlier, thinking that they know better than the other organizations. And not only that, but they know better and they can do it better than the other organizations. And that fierce competition turns into veterans eating their own. And I've seen it. It turns into veterans that hate watching other veterans succeed. I have seen successful veteran serving nonprofit directors get torn apart behind their back for having the audacity to do a good job and to get publicity for making an impact. I've never seen people talk more garbage about their own kind behind their backs and sabotage folks behind their backs more than veterans, veteran business owners in particular, and veteran nonprofit professionals, even more so. Alrighty, I see people starting to sign off. I see them right now. They're signing off. They're like, forget this guy. Because what I just said probably made you uncomfortable. Makes me uncomfortable. It sucks, but it's true. Throw it in the comments. Let me know. Throw it in the comments. Let me know. Do you think I'm crazy? Have you seen the veterans eat their own thing? The veterans can't cooperate thing. Golly, would we benefit? We'd get rid of problems of oversaturation. We'd get rid of problems of lack of targeting. I mean, we would solve so many problems. We would be able to sniff out and get rid of predatory nonprofit organizations. Think of what we can accomplish if we work together, but instead. I've seen veteran for-profit business owners sabotage veteran nonprofit owners. I've seen veteran nonprofit executive directors sabotage for-profit veteran-owned businesses. I've seen them fight for the spotlight and for attention. I've seen them attack one another in person and behind each other's backs. I have seen this happen. Veterans eat their own, and largely veterans do not like watching other veterans succeed. And it sucks. I think the tide is turning, though. I feel as if it is because people are starting to recognize it. At least in Wisconsin, I'm starting to see organizations and executive directors and business owners that in the past butt heads start to work together, bury the hatchet, and lead by example. Got a couple comments. Bill says, very true. Michael says, you are speaking the truth. If you think I'm crazy right now and what I'm saying is offensive or dumb, throw it out there. Throw it out there. Christopher asks, what do you think of the idea of cooperation by design? If you don't build with cooperation from the start, it's destined to fail. Absolutely. A lot of people start nonprofit organizations because they think they can do better than other people. They can beat this one out. It dilutes the donor pool. It disenfranchises donors. It muddies the waters for the people that are on the receiving end of services. You see how all of these problems factor into one another. Jen says, Adam, we're looking to start a nonprofit retreat for caregivers of, oh, hey. All right. Please, Jen, please connect with me offline. I would very, very much so like to chat with you about it. Jen says, I'm in Minnesota. Caregivers are completely opposite. Well, the people that are boots on the ground that are actually doing the impactful veteran support and help, which I think you're referring to, that's not where I see the competition. No, I mean, those are the people that see the impact of their work and they work together. I've seen them work together. It's the leadership of these organizations where I see the real butting of the heads and the small business owners that think they need to claim their space. It really is an ego thing. It's funny, veterans, typically, we're not a monolith. We're not all the same. Okay. I get that. But many veterans share some common characteristics, and competition definitely is one of them. But post-service, that competition then turns inward on our own people. It's a shame. Gianna says, I think it's a common issue with the entire nonprofit industry. I believe you're right. Yep. Everyone is concerned another org will take their donor dollars. It's sad. Absolutely. There's enough donor dollars to go around. What makes it difficult to attain and retain donors is when we don't cultivate them properly and we don't steward them properly. And by that, I mean showing them the impact and value of their dollars. And if you make a donor disenfranchised with another nonprofit organization, they're not going to become franchised with you. They're going to become overall disenfranchised. You just did yourself a disservice. Gianna nailed it. You nailed it. I think it's a good opportunity to bring this guy back. It's the robber. The robber. This robber represents the spirit, the demon that is created by veterans not cooperating. This guy's created. He's a spirit, a demon. When veterans, every time veterans don't cooperate, one of these guys gets its wings. He just takes donor dollars and makes donors angry. And meanwhile, the people that suffer are the people that are supposed to be on the receiving end of programs and resources. Give me a break. I should find a name for this guy. Somebody help me out. Come up with a name for this guy. The demon who gets his wings every time veterans don't work together. Oh my gosh, it's going off the rails. All right. Problem number 5. And this is another one I've gotten a lot of flack for saying out loud. A lot of veteran serving organizations are antiquated. They are not relevant to the needs of today's veterans. I once visited a legacy VSO at their post. Super nice people, very welcoming, very cool. My experience was not at all reflective upon the people there. It was reflective of the culture of the organization, because I got in there and the spirit was like a morgue, and you could hear bad karaoke through the wall on the other end of the facility. And, you know, there was a liquor raffle. I'm trying to grow my career as a professional, as a veteran. I'm trying to establish myself. You know, we've got a liquor raffle. We had somebody do his health review, and where he just shared like conspiracy theory articles about how, you know, this one article said that, you know, smoking reefer turns people homosexual. Like, I'm not even kidding. He's like, they're thinking about legalizing marijuana, and this article here says it makes people gay. And other people around him were like, yeah, grumble, grumble. But how does that help me as a veteran? How does it, like, I want to join this organization because I want to help other veterans. I want to help people. And here I am, like, there's a liquor raffle to raise money for God knows what. And now we're talking about this old guy who's a strong gust of wind would just blow him over, feebly expresses this conspiracy theory nonsense, and nobody disagrees. And right after that, this one guy, just out of nowhere, he slams his fist on the table and he goes, I want to talk about Colin Kaepernick. Everybody else is like, yeah, grumble, grumble. And like, at that point, I made my decision. I said, I'm never going back. That legacy veteran serving organization, chartered legacy veteran serving organization, does incredible legislative work at the state and the federal level. I'm not downplaying their impact and the role that they have had in the success for a lot of veterans, and especially legislation that supports veterans big time. But at a unit level, at a charter level, at a post level, they don't provide the value that is relevant to modern veterans, and they need to adapt and change. It's a problem. They do great work nationally, and there are some progressive ones. There really, really are. But very few. I'd say 1-2% of the legacy VSO posts out there are really progressive. And it's a shame. I'm not talking about progressive politically. I don't care what your politics are. I'm saying not that old school, you know, the American Legion VFW post. Modern vets do not want to sit smoking a cigarette at a bar, ashing into a bowl of 3-year-old peanuts, trying to tell war stories over the sound of bad karaoke. They don't want to do it anymore. They want more. They deserve more. These are professionals that have career ambitions, life ambitions that need help and resources. That's not helping. The bar doesn't help. The karaoke doesn't help. The meat raffle. You're raising money for what? The next meat raffle? Give me a break. Let's talk about some solutions. Somebody come up with a name for this guy. Come on. You know what we should do? I know, Jen, this comment, meat raffle, is unrelated, but we should call this robber guy Meat Raffle. Meat Raffle is the spirit of a foreclosed veteran service organization that gets its wings every time veterans don't cooperate. I should write that story. That part's going off the rails, and I apologize, but I'm kind of a weird guy. Whatever. Here are my solutions. Are you ready to hear my solutions? I have yet to hear from YouTube today, by the way. In the comments, I see a lot of LinkedIn, and I appreciate Jen, you participating, and Gianna as well. Christopher, as usual, I'm happy we connected. Christopher's all the way across the pond over there in the United Kingdom. So I appreciate you watching. And Michael's here, Eric's here. I appreciate you guys. And we've heard from Twitch. I have not heard from Facebook, I don't think. So if you're watching on Facebook, make sure to say howdy. I appreciate you. Appreciate that a lot. Here are my solutions. We need younger veterans willing to step up with legacy veteran service organizations. Maybe, but mainly we need a massive cultural change. Because I walked out of that VSO, that legacy VSO meeting, meat money bags. They call them old meat raffle money bags. He got his wings because the veteran sabotaged another one. Oh, meat raffle money bags. I love that. Good stuff. We need a massive cultural change that needs to start with the legacy VSOs, and it starts all the way from the top. And we need people at the post level that are not resistant to that change. Because I went to those 2 meetings and I never went back. I could have stayed, and I could have been, people lectured me when I talked about this before. They're like, why didn't you stay and be the change that you wanted to see? Okay, I suppose I could have done that, or I could have joined one of the other veteran organizations that's relevant to me. That's easier. I can make a targeted impact right away. There are plenty of them, after all. If those organizations are going to exist at a national level, continue to exist at a national level, to do the great things that I know they do, they need some cultural changes at the post level. And they're not going to be able to maintain young membership and participants and the people that are going to be able to drive those organizations into the future unless they have those cultural changes. You can bring young people in, but they're not going to stay. I didn't stay. A lot of people feel the same way. They need to provide that value. New veterans are not just going to stay and continue to come to meetings because it's the right thing to do. There are other organizations and other ways to make an impact. I'm sorry, you guys are not the only ones anymore. And you need to provide value or you will disappear. My other solution is to start playing nice. Drop the ego garbage. Why have we as a demographic forgotten how to work as a dang team? It stinks. And the way that we do this is leading the way, leading the charge. If you run an organization or a business, I don't care if some other executive director or president or CEO has talked noise about you behind your back. Reach out to them, let them in, let them participate. Drive the bus on that. I had an executive director. Ew, what's ew for? Oh, the meat money bags. Meat raffle, the robber baron of veteran serving organizations. I got sidetracked. I'm just so excited about the story of meat raffle, the demon. I had an executive director of a nonprofit organization unknowingly and inadvertently, but very, very offensively insult me and my organization at the time directly to our face. Like, it was ridiculous. We still invited them to participate in an event. And it wasn't like he was trying to hurt our feelings. It was just he had said something about us so casually that it led us to believe that the stuff that was said behind our backs was even worse. Couldn't wrap my brain around it. How many years did we waste where we could have helped each other and helped, veterans and military family members as well? What a waste. What a shame. But you're going to have to eat some humble pie, and you're going to have to be the bigger person and rise above and start letting these people in. And if they know that you've wronged them or sabotaged them or talked noise, you're going to have to say, I'm sorry. I've come to a realization. My ego's a problem, and I think we should work together. You got to do it. Somebody has to do it. Other solutions, be careful where you donate. Don't get sucked in with the patriotic verbiage. Rep the good organizations and absolutely destroy the predatory ones. Destroy them. Because not only does putting them in the public eye and having their predatory nature and their dishonor go viral, valuable for the people that would have maybe made a donation in their direction, but it gives you an opportunity to say, well, here's some good ones to donate to. If you or a colleague are thinking about starting a VSO, don't do it. Or at least you've got 1,000 steps to take beforehand. And the first one is to check and see if there is already a veteran serving nonprofit organization in your area that has a targeted impact that you're trying to do. If your general thing is just, I want to help veterans, then just don't. Stop. Here's a good example of a targeted veteran serving organization. Here's a good one. Dirt Therapy Project in San Antonio, Texas. They help physically disabled and veterans dealing with post-traumatic stress overcome through physical activity, and in particular, dirt biking. That's targeted. Specific to the San Antonio area. Great organization. I love those guys over there. Jonathan Hagerman. Dirt Therapy Project. Check them out. That's an example of a good targeted one. That is targeted. But if you just want to help, you need to think through it, and you need to get advice from a professional. How do I start a nonprofit? How do I do it right? How do I get targeted? How do I get funding? How do I cultivate and steward donors? That's an important part. Stewarding those donors and keeping them active, because you could ruin that donor for the entire nonprofit industry. Your good intentions can do more harm than help. It's possible. Finally, I contend that we need to expand the government-sanctioned charter classification. Chartered VSOs would still be the ones that have veteran services officers that are able to file claims on behalf of veterans. However, there could be an accreditation process for certain nonprofit organizations. And they'd have to meet criteria. They have to be around for 20 years, have a certain amount of revenue, be able to verify that a certain percentage of their revenue is given back in these settings and blah, blah, blah. They'd have to re-up every year, something like that. So we can expand and say, like, here is a charter, a government accredited nonprofit organization. I'm sure there's probably some reasons why that's a bad idea, but I think it's important that happens to start curbing the proliferation of the second tier organization, a nonprofit organization that has $1 million budget to just basically tell you which nonprofit organizations are good. That's a self-licking ice cream cone, if I've ever seen one. Goodness gracious, that is a self-licking ice cream cone. And like I said earlier, pretty soon we're going to have a second and third tier. Fourth tier, here's an organization that tells you which organizations are the best to tell you which organizations can actually sift through the organizations that'll tell you which organizations are good. Yuck. Meanwhile, the people that need help aren't getting the help they need. And there are more organizations, more competition for less donors, and less cooperation. This guy right here. Meat Raffle the Robber Baron. Well, friends, I appreciate you listening to this, one of my absolute longest rants, maybe my second longest rant ever. This was an important one. I appreciate you watching and following along. Please, if you want to watch this video and other videos of me ranting about things in perpetuity, my YouTube channel, if you go to allmylinks.com/AdamBratz, check it out. Please subscribe on YouTube. Please. I'm trying to grow that over there on YouTube. Got a lot of other good videos over there. And you can see also in the comments, I put a link to my pre-order campaign for my upcoming book, LinkedIn Mastery for Veterans and Transitioning Service Members. A lot of valuable information on there. You can either buy a copy for yourself or donate that, or buy a bundle, buy 100 copies and say, Adam, I want you to donate it to veterans in need. I'll send it. I got a lot of contacts in the veteran world. I will ship it to veteran service members, TAPS classes, doesn't matter, you name it. Get that important information to as many hands as possible. I would be honored to have your support. To please pre-order a book. Christina says, another great conversation. Good job. Thanks for watching, Christina. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you for watching and following along. I will be back around the same time. I've been experimenting with different times. You keep an eye out. Follow me, connect with me, subscribe across all channels so you don't miss anything. And whenever that next time may be next week, I will see you then. Much love.